The Crystal Hive is here again. It's been a while since I've put out a video. My apologies. I'm here now. Life's just been a little hectic lately. Work schedule's changing, social life, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to put out a video that I've not seen yet by anyone, actually. This video is all about upgrades. Now, upgrades generally are used in a manner that is used to bolster your own creatures, give them more armor, give them more power, help them do more damage, help them stay alive longer. That's the straightforward play. That's how people use upgrades. I wanted to pay a little homage to the least represented card type in Keyforge. The upgrades in Call of the Archons, there's only 21, and in Age of Ascension, there's only 21. Mind you, in Age of Ascension, some of those upgrades are reprints from Call of the Archons, so there's less than 40 upgrades in this game that currently has about 600 to 700 cards. So they're not that many to memorize. So I wanted to think of a new way to use these upgrades. So in this video, we're going to be talking about ways to use these upgrades aggressively or offensively in a way that hinders your opponent and not just helps you. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to be sorting these in order of not really difficulty to get off, but difficulty to comprehend or to make work. Sometimes these situations just don't happen in a game. So keep that in mind as you're looking through and listening and watching through all of this stuff that I'm suggesting. So we're going to start with two upgrades here. Red Planet Ray Gun from Mars and the Silent Dagger from Shadows. They both give a bonus amber on play. They both give the attached creature a reap effect. The Red Planet Ray Gun is reap, choose a creature, deal 1 damage to that creature for each Mars creature in play. If you and your opponent have Mars creatures, it doubles down on them, so it just counts number of Mars creatures, not just friendly, not just enemy. Silent Dagger on Reap, deal 4 damage to a flank creature. Pretty straightforward. You're going to use these in ways to just do damage to a board. What if you don't have any creatures on the board? I have a lot of decks that have really low creature counts, so sometimes I just don't have creatures on the board, so the only way for me to play my upgrades is on my opponent's creatures. So if you put Red Planet Ray Gun on one of their most used Mars creatures, anytime they use it to reap, which unless it has an action printed on it, they have to reap if I don't have creatures because they can't fight, they have to do damage to their own creatures. Same is true for Silent Dagger. On Reap, deal 4 damage to a flank creature. So that just means if, as long as there's a creature, and the one that it's attached to, if it's the only creature on the board, it is considered a flank creature, so you'd have to do 4 damage to itself. So these are ways that you can help damage your opponent's board when you may not have board state yourself. And when you play them, they also give you the bonus amber. And they don't give your opponent tremendous amount of benefit until you start building your own creature board. Gonna hop over to another subset that I call action prevention. Now, these might seem a little less offensive or aggressive because you're using these cards as they're intended. These are offensive upgrades. These are generally upgrades that you are going to be putting on your opponent's creatures. A couple of them have exceptions. So there are creatures in the game. Dust Imp, easiest example. You want it to die. So Bone Rot Venom, Containment Field, all of them, both of those, will kill the Dust Imp when you use them. So that's a way to use it for your own game. But let's say your opponent's just abusing the crap out of a Yancey gang and stealing an amber every single turn. Pop a Containment Field on it. If they use it, they've resolved the full effect of the use effect, and then they destroy it. Bone Rot Venom. Maybe they've got a skirmish creature that's just annihilating your board. If you pop Bone Rot Venom on it, they're going to get some uses out of it, but they're going to take 2 damage every time they fight with it, even if it has skirmish. Then Earthbind cannot be used unless its controller has discarded a card this turn. So it's a cool hand disrupt that forces your opponent to choose to discard a card. Now this is a double-edged sword because your opponent could use this to their benefit to discard a card that might hurt them. Maybe they're the only one that has creatures on the board, so they discard a Gateway to Dis or some type of board clear or something that would really hurt their board state to use that creature. Bone Rot Venom itself, I'm jumping all over the place here, so hopefully everyone can follow me. Bone Rot Venom itself can also be used on your own creature aggressively. The very first one that comes to mind is Brend the Fanatic. On play, sorry I don't have an image of him queued up for this video, but on play it gives your opponent 1 amber. He also has the effect Destroyed, steal 3 amber. He has skirmish, so it's really hard to kill him through combat. You either have to have some direct kill in hand, board clears, your opponent has to kill him by accident or potentially on purpose. But Bone Rot Venom on your Brend the Fanatic, after 2 uses, he dies. So you could just reap twice, fight twice, whatever you want to do, and then you steal 3 amber. These are a little more intricate, again, highly dependent on what creatures are on the board, since upgrades can only be attached to creatures. These are all really reliant on what the current game's board state is. So always take this with a grain of salt when I'm suggesting this stuff. The next one I call Death Prevention, and I call it that because, well, you'll see in these cards. So Armageddon Cloak, Sanctum. This creature gains Hazardous 2 and Destroyed. Fully heal this creature and destroy Armageddon Cloak instead. And I was talking about this with a friend, and he was like, well, how the hell are you going to use that offensively? Like, that's such a good card. And most of the time it's to help protect your board, your big bad, your creature, like maybe your power 8, armor 4 taunt creature is about to die. Pop this on it, you get several, if not the rest of the game, use out of it. What I'm thinking about, again, I'm just going to use Dust Imp as the example because that is the easiest to visualize and the easiest to comprehend. Dust Imp on Destroyed, gain 2 amber. If your opponent has 1, you don't want that creature to die. So what you do, pop the Armageddon Cloak on it. If they fight to kill it with it, it discards Armageddon Cloak. The creature is fully healed. So if it had any damage on it already, it's healed back to 0 damage. And they have to try and find a way to kill it again. On top of that, it has Hazardous 2. So if you yourself has a Dust Imp, you can attack into their Dust Imp, kill your Dust Imp before the fight even happens, and their Dust Imp is stuck with this Armageddon Cloak, having taken no damage. We hop over to Shadows here with Ring of Invisibility. Creature gains Elusive and Skirmish. So, if... again, let's just use the Dust Imp. I'm just going to be universal here. Boring, but universal. So, Dust Imp, if Dust Imp gains Skirmish, it can't fight to kill itself. In addition, if it gains Elusive, you have ways to fight against it with fight effects. So your creature won't take any damage, it'll resolve the fight effect, and the Dust Imp is still there, your opponent hasn't gained 2 amber. There are much more intricate ways you can use the Ring of Invisibility and the Armageddon Cloak. Hopefully the example with the Dust Imp is a good precursor to help you start thinking in this mindset of how to use upgrades in a way other than just discarding them because maybe you've got a really shitty board, or maybe you don't have any creatures. Maybe your opponent just board cleared and you're stuck with a hand of 2 or 3 upgrades. And the last one here gets pretty combo-y. So let's just say your opponent has one or several of these creatures on the board. Let's say, just for sake, they've got this Restringuntus on a flank. Power 1 prevents me from playing a certain house as long as he's in play. Well, the upgrade I'm talking about here is Shoulder Armor. So what Shoulder Armor does, while this creature is on a flank, gets +2 armor and +2 power. So now my Restringuntus, or my opponent's Restringuntus, is 3 power, 2 armor. If any of these other creatures are also on flanks, it puts them over 3 power. The others would be at 4 power, 2 armor. Why does that matter, Brian? Spirit's Way. Play, destroy each creature with power 3 or higher. So this would only impact whatever creature you are able to pop a Shoulder Armor on. You can also do certain things, like you can... I'm blanking on her name. She's in Sanctum, Age of Ascension. Give control of an artifact to your opponent. You can give them Hadrith's Wall, give their flank creatures +2 power each, pop a Spirit's Way. So there's these really intricate interactions with upgrades that will buff power. You could also set this up a turn or two in advance with a Flame Wreath that also gives +2 power, as well as 2 Hazardous. Really all we're looking for is an upgrade that buffs your opponent's creature's power in a way that you could use conditional board clears, like Spirit's Way. Or you could buff their power to a point where you could use conditional purges. So I'm totally striking out here. The Purge card from Sanctum, where you purge a creature with power 5 or more. So these upgrades generally are intended to help your battle line, but if you rethink the way you're playing them, you can use them in a way that actually helps your game state better than playing it on your own creatures. And if you have any other uses for upgrades that you found that are more in line of this type of thought, this way of, hey, I'm going to give you one of my upgrades because I'm going to do some really weird stuff to your battle line here in a second. Leave a comment in the video board below here. Send me a message, post on my Facebook, send me smoke signals, do whatever you need to. But this is just a quick glimpse into the ways you can rethink your playing upgrades, maybe even the way you're rethinking artifacts or creatures and their uses in Keyforge. Without further delay, thanks for stopping by, thanks for checking the video out, and don't forget to assimilate. Smash that subscribe button, click follow. Find me on all my social media found in the comments and description below. Take care.